What if 10 focused minutes a day could rewire your attention, end your scattered work habits, and give you back hours of productive time each week? In this audio guide, you'll get 25 practical science-backed habits you can apply in a single 10-minute session, tiny rituals that cut distraction, sharpen decision-making, and build a durable concentration system without overhauling your life. Listen carefully. Each minute hands you one precise technique you can use immediately, and by the end, you'll have a ready-to-implement routine that transforms how you work, think, and finish what matters. Chapter 1. The 10-minute rule. Build focus. Without overhaul, 10 minutes is not a compromise, it is a precision tool. The first habit reframes focus as a daily micro-practice you can reliably complete, not a heroic weekend retreat. Start by treating those 10 minutes as an inviolable appointment on your calendar labeled 10-minute focus. Protect it like a meeting with someone important. Set a recurring time, turn off notifications, and honor the block even when you feel busy. The content of the 10 minutes matters less at first than the ritual of consistency. Use a single, simple structure for the session. 1 minute to set a specific, measurable intention. 8 minutes of uninterrupted work on that intention. 1 minute to log outcome and next step. The 1-minute intention must be concrete. Draft 150 words of the proposal is better than work on proposal because the brain craves measurable boundaries. The 8-minute stretch leverages cognitive momentum. Short, intense bursts minimize mental friction and induce a flow microstate that often carries beyond the time box. Use a visible countdown timer and a physical cue. Close the laptop lid for all non-essential apps and place a 5-centimeter object by your dominant hand to signal focus. The final minute is non-negotiable. Write 1 sentence about progress and 1 tiny next action to continue later. This log closes the loop and prevents future decision fatigue. The psychological mechanics are straightforward. 10 minutes reduces the intimidation factor that kills longer sessions. The ritual of daily repetition compounds neural pathways that favor sustained attention. The accountability of a written log preserves learning and reinforces identity. Someone who does focused work daily. Practical enhancements. Batch 10-minute blocks into clusters if larger work is needed, 3 blocks separated by a short walk. Or use the day's first 10-minute block to tackle the highest leverage item when cognitive energy is highest. Resist the temptation to multitask within the block. The habit is single-minded by design. If you miss a day, resume immediately. Consistency beats perfection. Over 4 weeks, the 10-minute rule converts scattered effort into a predictable habit that reliably produces forward motion. The rule's power is not in the time, but in the discipline it instills. A daily ritual that trains your attention system without requiring dramatic life changes. Chapter 2. The micro-ritual, pre-focus, sequence that primes attention. A reliable focus session begins before you start the timer. The micro-ritual is a short sequence, 30 to 60 seconds, that prepares body and brain for concentrated work. The ritual anchors attention and signals a categorical shift from distracted mode to focused mode. A high-impact micro-ritual contains 4 elements: physical reset, breath anchor, explicit intention, and environmental lock. Physical reset is a brief posture check. Sit upright, relax shoulders, set both feet flat on the floor, and rest hands lightly on the desk. This posture reduces somatic tension and readies the parasympathetic system. Breath anchor follows. 3 slow breaths. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 1, exhale 6, to reduce sympathetic arousal and steady voice and thought tempo. The intention step is the 1-minute articulation. Write a clear micro goal in a single line, what you will produce and how you will measure it. The environmental lock is a decisive physical action. Close non-essential tabs, silence the phone, and place a visual token, a book, a stone, next to your workspace to mark the session's boundary. The ritual should be practiced until it becomes automatic. The first weeks require conscious repetition, then the body learns the pattern and the brain moves into focus more quickly. Micro-rituals also serve as a behavioral inhibitor for distraction. When temptation arises, the ritual is a remembered template you can replay before allowing an off-task behavior. Customize the ritual to your situation. If you work standing, do a 1-minute posture reset with a short stretch. If you are remote and noisy, use noise. Cancelling headphones as part of the lock. Important nuance: keep the ritual short. Long preambles drain willpower. The purpose is to prime, not to procrastinate disguised as preparation. After 2 weeks of consistent micro-ritual use, you will notice a measurable reduction in startup friction and an increase in average unbroken attention time. Chapter 3. Environment Audit. Design your space for 10-minute wins. Distractions are often architectural. The environment audit habit is a rapid, 10-minute diagnostic and adjustment routine you run weekly to minimize external friction. Start by listing all visible attention drains in sight of your work area: phone, chat alerts, clutter, ambient noise sources, and visual stimulus like news tabs. For each item, decide 1 concrete mitigation in under a minute. Phone on Do Not Disturb and out of sight. Chat apps closed. A single notepad for paper notes. Headphones or a white noise source for constant background sounds. A physical cue, an intentionally empty tray or a focused lights lamp signals the brain that this place is for concentrated work. Next, optimize ergonomics because comfort supports mental endurance. Adjust screen height to eye level, reduce glare, and position a water bottle nearby to prevent small breaks turning into scroll sessions. The third component is time architecture. Map the day's natural energy peaks and place your most important 10-minute session at the highest energy window. Use inexpensive instruments, a small analog timer, a Do Not Disturb sign, and an organized cable management box reduce micro-friction that invites distraction. The audit also includes digital hygiene. Delete or offload 1 app that creates noise, unsubscribe from 1 newsletter, and create a single designated folder for urgent emails that you check only in scheduled windows. Implement a 2-minute cleanup before each 10-minute focus block. Clear desktop, close irrelevant tabs, so the transition feels clean. A weekly audit keeps the environment dynamic. Small fixes compound, less visual clutter, better ergonomics. Chapter 4. Single tasking. Protocol, the anatomy of a microwork unit. Single tasking is a muscle you must train. The protocol converts a 10-minute block into a repeatable micro-work unit that builds deeper competence. Each unit has 4 phases: precise task definition, rapid resource alignment, focused execution, and micro-review. Task definition demands surgical specificity. Avoid vague verbs. Instead of work on report, state outline. 3 headings and draft 300 words for section 2. Resource alignment means gather everything you need before starting: data, reference, a pen, so no context switching interrupts the 8-minute execution. Execution is pure single-task flow. Commit to one task and use a visible timer. Chapter 5. Pre-commitment and implementation intentions. Outsource. Willpower. Willpower is finite. Pre-commitment rituals conserve it. Implementation intentions are short, if-then plans you set before a session to reduce decision load during work. The formula is simple. If triggered, then action. For example, if a message notification appears during the 10-minute block, then I will ignore it until the session ends. If an urge to check email arises, then I will move the sticky note labeled Email to top of tomorrow's list. Create 3 implementation intentions and place them on the work surface. Couple intentions with small pre-commitment devices. Set your browser to open a single tab to the focus task, use website blockers for a fixed period, or place a small token, a rubber band, on your wrist that you will only remove after the session. Chapter 6. Attention. Warm-up. Short cognitive drills that prime focus. Just as athletes warm up, attention benefits from concise cognitive drills that prime neural circuits for sustained work. A 2-minute attentional warm-up before the main 10-minute block accelerates entry into deep focus. Effective warm-ups are simple and repeatable. A quick 2-minute reading aloud of a paragraph relevant to the task improves verbal working memory. A 1-minute math cadence, serial subtraction by sevens, engages executive control. A 60-second mental imagery routine where you visualize completing the micro-task with sensory detail primes motivation. Choose one drill and rotate weekly to prevent habituation. Chapter 7. Distraction. Triage, rapidly sort and neutralize interruptions. Interruptions are inevitable. The skill is fast triage. Distraction triage is a 10-second decision algorithm used when attention is threatened. First, classify the interruption as urgent, deferable, or irrelevant. Urgent items demand immediate action and should be handled with a pre-agreed short script. Answer a 1-line emergency call or by delegating. Deferable items are noted in the parking list to be addressed in a scheduled block. Irrelevant items are actively blocked or ignored. The triage algorithm is name the interruption, decide, urgent, defer, ignore, and act, script, defer, block, within 10 seconds. Train yourself by running role-play exercises. Simulate a single distraction and practice the algorithm until decision latency drops. Chapter 8. Focused reflection. The 1-minute learning loop. Reflection cements progress. The 10-minute method reserves the final minute of each session for a structured learning loop. Write 1 sentence about what worked, 1 obstacle encountered, and 1 micro-adjustment for the next session. This short practice creates a living log of incremental experiments and prevents repetitive failure patterns. Aggregate weekly reflections into a short, what improved list, and a single theme to work on next week, timing, environment, or energy. Focused reflection turns ad hoc practice into deliberate improvement because it forces evidence-based adjustments and replaces vague intentions with specific changes. The habit also reduces decision fatigue by externalizing learning. You don't rely on memory to recall small lessons, the log holds them. Over a month, you build an actionable map of what interventions reliably support concentration and which are time sinks. Chapter 9. Energy management. Align 10-minute blocks with biological rhythms. Focus is energy dependent. Identify your circadian peaks via a simple week-long diary, noting alertness every 2 hours. Place your most important 10-minute block at a consistent peak, often mid-morning for many, late afternoon for others. Couple timing with nutritional strategies that stabilize glucose. A protein-rich breakfast, minimal late afternoon sugar, and steady hydration. Micro breaks matter. After 3 10-minute sessions, take a slightly longer break, 5 to 10 minutes of movement or sunlight, to reset dopamine receptors and reduce attentional fatigue. Napping strategies can also be powerful. A 20-minute nap before an evening block restores capacity for those with biphasic rhythms. Energy management is not moralizing productivity. It is optimizing physiology to make 10-minute efforts genuinely productive. Chapter 10. Habit Stacking and Consistency. Make 10 minutes non-negotiable. The final habit is stacking, the deliberate attachment of the 10-minute focus ritual to an existing daily routine to ensure consistency. Choose a fixed anchor after brushing your teeth after lunch or immediately following morning email triage. Pair the 10-minute session with the anchor and perform the micro-ritual immediately. Use visual reminders and a simple streak tracker to reinforce momentum. Nothing fancy, a checklist in a notebook suffices. Celebrate small runs, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, with a modest reward that does not derail attention, a short walk, a favorite tea. The psychology of stacking converts intention into automaticity. By pairing a new habit with a stable routine, you leverage existing neural pathways and reduce the friction of initiation. Over months, the 10-minute practice shifts from deliberate effort to default behavior, and the compound returns, increased output, better focus, and a resilient attention system become obvious. Chapter 11. The Micro Deadline. Technique: use short deadlines to trigger focus. Micro deadlines are tiny, self-imposed time targets that create urgency without drama. The habit is simple. Before each 10-minute session, set a single, non-negotiable micro deadline inside the block. A hard stop at minute 5 for a concrete checkpoint and full completion at minute 10. This splits the block into a rapid hypothesis test and a finishing sprint, converting vague effort into measurable progress. The psychology is reliable. Deadlines recruit arousal that sharpens selection of relevant cues while pruning irrelevant thought. To implement, choose a clear deliverable that can be evaluated quickly. List 3 bullet points, draft 1 paragraph, complete 5 calculations, and assign minute 5 as the proof of life checkpoint where you evaluate whether the approach works. If you miss the checkpoint, apply one corrective rule: reduce scope rather than extend time. For example, if you planned 300 words and reach 120 by minute 5, narrow the target to a 150-word focused paragraph and refocus the remaining 5 minutes on completion, not perfection. This prevents the common failure of scope creep during short sessions. Use a visible timer that signals both checkpoints. The tactile sense of time passing increases behavioral commitment. Pair micro deadlines with a brief accountability signal, send a one-line progress update to a partner, or add a tick in your habit tracker. This social anchor stabilizes adherence. The technique also doubles as an experimentation scaffold. Run a week where each session uses a micro deadline and track completion rates. Compare with a week of open-ended 10-minute blocks. The data typically show higher completion and follow-through during micro deadline weeks because the brain prefers concrete finish lines. To maintain quality, reserve 10-minute micro deadline blocks for discrete, clearly bounded tasks, Avoid using them for messy, ill-defined problems that require incubation. For larger projects, chain multiple micro-deadline blocks into a sequence of defined artifacts rather than forcing a single, long ordeal. Finally, honor the ritual of immediate logging after each deadline. Note what you accomplished and one micro-adjustment for the next block. The short accountability loop is the mechanism that converts fleeting bursts of focus into cumulative progress across days. Over time, micro-deadlines rewire behavior. Your brain begins to treat small finish lines as routine, reducing procrastination and increasing the speed at which you convert intention into completed work. Chapter 12. Digital Minimalism for 10 Minutes. Strip the screen. Noise efficiently. Digital environments are optimized to steal attention. The habit here is ruthless parsimony for 10-minute sessions. Before the block, initiate a 3-step digital minimalism routine. Close all unrelated apps, enable a site blocker for a narrow list, and create a single distraction buffer file on your desktop for quick notes. The value of the buffer file is critical. It catches intrusive thoughts without requiring context switching. Type the idea, close the file, and return to the task. Next, reduce notification surface area. Disable pop-ups and use a short focus mode that mutes both desktop and phone for the session. Modern OS features or simple do not disturb settings work. Choose the method that requires the least friction to activate because hesitation kills adherence. Third, optimize the single-tab principle. Open only the document or web resource essential for the task. If research is required, limit to 2 tabs and use a quick capture tool to grab citations without drift. Train yourself to funnel research into final, time-boxed moments rather than letting tabs proliferate. This minimalist stance extends to email. If checking mail threatens the block, set an autoresponder for short windows and schedule a single, deferred slot to clear parked items. Chapter 13. Micro-planning. Break big goals into 10-minute steps. Large projects become paralyzing when contemplated whole. Micro-planning reframes any sizable goal as a sequence of 10-minute deliverables. The method begins with a single planning session. Spend 20 minutes mapping the project into the smallest actionable units possible. Each unit must be completable in a maximum of 3 10-minute blocks. Prioritize the first 5 units and schedule them across days using the 10-minute habit as the execution engine. For each micro-task, create a short success criterion. What finished looks like in 1 line. The advantage is predictability. When you sit down for 10 minutes, you always know the exact success metric and avoid decision waste. Pair micro-planning with a visible progress board, digital or physical, that lists completed micro-tasks, in-progress items, and parked items. This externalization solves 2 cognitive problems. It prevents re-evaluation of already made plans and it supplies a dopamine-friendly feedback loop as items move to done. Use the parking habit aggressively. If a micro-task expands beyond 10 minutes, stop at the boundary and convert the remaining work into the next micro-task with a new specific criterion. This preserves momentum and reduces the cost of context re-entry. Chapter 14. Active Recovery. Short practices that restore. Focus capacity. Recovery is not the absence of work. It is an active set of brief practices that restore attentional capacity between 10-minute clusters. Implement active recovery as a mandatory ritual after every 3 to 4 10-minute blocks, 2 to 5 minutes of movement, 2 deep breaths, and 30 seconds of visual reset. Movement can be a short walk, a set of stretches, or standing and shaking out limbs, the goal is to change physiological state and reset dopamine receptors. The deep breaths reduce sympathetic activation and prepare the brain for the next focus phase. Visual reset means looking away from screens to a distant point for 30 seconds, which reduces accommodative strain and improves subsequent perceptual clarity. Chapter 15. The accountability loop. Small checks that drive. Consistency, accountability multiplies adherence. The accountability loop for 10-minute focus uses tiny social contracts and visible records. Pairing works best. Tell one person your daily 10-minute schedule and send a one-line progress note in the evening, or maintain a public streak tracker with a simple check mark. Social visibility increases follow-through because it leverages reputational incentives with minimal friction. For those who prefer private accountability, use a digital streak tracker that records sessions and computes simple metrics like completion rate and average productive minutes per day. Combine quantitative tracking with qualitative notes. After each session, log one insight and one block for the next day. These short reflections reinforce learning and increase perceived value. Chapter 16. Cognitive hygiene. Reduce mental clutter with simple rituals. Cognitive hygiene is the daily maintenance that keeps attention uncluttered. Begin with a morning 10-minute mental sweep. Write down all open loops, projects, appointments, vague worries, then categorize each into action, delegate, or delete. This reduces background mental load by externalizing commitments into a trusted system. Another ritual is the midday cognitive prune. Remove one low-value item from your to-do list and archive it. Pruning trains prioritization and prevents lists from ballooning. Incorporate a weekly cognitive inventory where you review your note logs and delete redundant thoughts and plans. The process lowers the number of active mental threads and reduces intrusive thoughts during 10-minute sessions. Pair hygiene with environmental cues, an inbox zero habit for flaggable items, and a single notebook for parking thoughts, so cognitive artifacts live in predictable places. Over time, cognitive hygiene reduces reactive attention capture and increases the ratio of deliberate to reactive focus. Chapter 17. Stimulus control. Curate. What triggers your attention? Stimulus control identifies and reshapes the cues that habitually hijack attention. Map the typical triggers: phone buzz, browser tab count, chat pings, visual clutter, and create direct countermeasures. Move the phone to another room, use a single window browser, set chat apps to manual check, and maintain a minimal desktop. Apply stimulus control to social triggers as well. Schedule brief communications windows to handle messages rather than permitting continuous interruptions. For persistent environmental triggers like noisy colleagues, use noise-cancelling headphones or negotiate a shared quiet hour. The key is to align environment with intention. Every cue should meaningfully support the kind of attention you want. Small changes have outsized effects because they reduce the number of moments requiring willpower. Chapter 18. Motivation. Micro-boosters. Quick moves to rekindle drive. Motivation waxes and wanes. Micro-boosters are short rituals that reignite engagement before a 10-minute session. Choose one from a small toolkit, a 20-second visualization of completing the task, listening to a one-track motivational clip, recalling a past micro-win, or writing one sentence about why the task matters. Pair a booster with a sensory cue, a specific playlist starter, a particular tea or a scent that becomes conditioned to signal readiness. Rotate boosters to avoid habituation. The goal is not sustained arousal, but a swift motivational flick that propels you into the micro-task with credible momentum. Chapter 19. Measuring progress. Without overload, track what matters. Measurement sustains momentum, but over-measuring creates paralysis. Track 3 simple metrics: completed 10-minute sessions per week, percentage of sessions meeting the micro goal, and one qualitative outcome metric relevant to your goals: words written, problems solved, calls made. Use a single dashboard or notebook line to update daily. Weekly, compute completion and success rates, and identify one small process tweak for the coming week. Avoid obsession with vanity metrics. Prioritize indicators tied to outcomes. This lightweight measurement system provides feedback without draining cognitive resources. Chapter 20. Scaling the practice from 10 minutes to sustained performance. Scaling the 10-minute habit requires deliberate sequencing. Start with a 30-day consistency phase focused on building streaks and ritual fidelity. After establishing a reliable base, cluster sessions into thematic blocks: morning creative cluster, afternoon analytical cluster, and gradually increase the number of daily 10-minute blocks while preserving active recovery. Introduce challenge weeks where you transfer one task into a chained sequence of 10-minute units to complete a larger deliverable. Maintain weekly reviews to ensure fidelity and align scaling with energy patterns. Importantly, scale only in one axis at a time, either frequency, depth, or complexity, to prevent collapse. Use scaling as an experiment. Measure output and adjustment costs and iterate accordingly. Over months, this disciplined expansion converts short daily practice into a robust attention architecture that supports sustained high-quality work without burnout. Conclusion: small daily investments, big cumulative returns. 10-minute focus is not a hack. It is a practical system of rituals, environment design, and micro-experiments that convert daily, tiny investments into durable attention capacity. Commit to the habit, protect the blocks, iterate based on short feedback loops, and scale thoughtfully. The result is predictable: less procrastination, more completed work, and an attention system that reliably delivers when it matters. Start with one 10-minute block today and treat it as an experiment. Over weeks, the compound effect will be unmistakable.